Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Dr. Sheila. That is Sheila Craig Whiteman, and I am your host for today's show, Living Well with Dr. Sheila. As you know, each week we have a different guest, and each guest gives us a little bit more information on how you and I can both live our most healthy life. I have a doctorate in physical therapy. I am a physical therapist, a health coach, and I also specialize in women's health and lymphedema. So those are my two loves in life, but I also love educating the public on how they can live well. For me, every week, I try to find somebody just different that we can learn something from. And this week, I am lucky to have Kathie Hardy. And she is an RN. I'll read her initials, but she is going to talk to us about what her initials mean. For some of them we know, but some of them we might not. So she's an RN, MS, MBA BCH. So I'm going to be looking back and forth now because now I'm going to read her bio. She is a board certified hypnotherapist. She's a speaker, and she is a two-time #1 best-selling author on Amazon. Her two books are Migraine Relief with Hypnosis, Quit Smoking for Good with Hypnosis Without Gaining Weight. Also, she's known as the Bad Habit Hacker. That's great. Kathie left a successful career in nursing administration and in bedside nursing in ICUs and emergency departments after realizing the impact hypnosis can have on helping people overcome addictions, change habits and behaviors, and manage pain. She also has a 6-week online program. She's going to talk about that, managing emotional overwhelm. And you can learn to use hypnosis secrets and neuroscience to get off the rat wheel of emotional overwhelm. Kathie plays Celtic harp professionally. See, that's why we got to talk about what she does, because I mean, really. And is an avid downhill skier and master gardener. I've seen pictures of her garden. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You can see the video on how she became a hypnotist on her website, www, and I'll put this up later, and she's going to correct me on how I say this because she always does. SalashChypnosis.com. So we're going to go ahead and welcome Kathie to the studio. Hi, Kathie.
Hello, Dr. Sheila. Thanks for having me on your show today.
You are quite welcome. So we are going to start right out. There is so much information that we have that we're going to talk about. So let's start out first. Tell me about your background. So I talked a little bit about in your intro about how you an RN, but you also, especially the last initials. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Certainly. So the RN, of course, stands for Registered Nurse, and MS is a Master's of Science in Nursing. And then I won a Commonwealth Fellowship years ago and was awarded enough money to get either a doctorate in nursing science or a master's in business administration, because at that time there was a organization that was trying to help prepare nurse managers with business skills so that they could more effectively advocate for patients and nurses at the hospital level. So I received my master's in business administration, and at that time I was in administration. I had manager and director jobs. And then I was working in an intensive care unit job, and a man I was dating took me to a party, and I met a hypnotist. And that hypnotist told me that people could be helped to stop smoking in as little as 1 to 2 sessions. Now, a lot of people know that. You probably know that. But at the time, I didn't know that. And my mother and my grandmother had both died from smoking-related illnesses. And I remember feeling kind of angry that none of their doctors ever said, you could see a hypnotist and quit smoking and maybe not die of lung cancer. So I thought about that. I did some Google research, and A day or two later, I was standing in room 2 of, at that time I was working in an intensive care unit. I went back to bedside nursing after about 10 years of administration because I found that I really didn't like being responsible for other people's behaviors. I like being responsible for my own behavior, and I really loved bedside nursing. I love the technical aspect and the intensity of the emergency department and the intensive care unit, and I was really good at it. So there I am standing in the doorway of this room, and I'd been assisting a woman who's detoxing from alcohol. And a lot of people don't know this, but you don't usually die from detoxing from meth or heroin, but you can die from detoxing from alcohol. And so when you arrive in the emergency room unconscious with the blood alcohol off the charts, you're buying yourself a couple of days in the intensive care unit with one nurse every 15 minutes around the clock. So I'd been working with her all day, and I just remember that day so clearly because it was a busy day. The other nurses were so busy that I didn't feel anyone could really watch her closely enough. So I hadn't had a lunch break. It was 3:00. It was a Tuesday. And I stood in the doorway and I watched her get out of bed unsteadily. She put her clothes on and she walked out the door and down the hall against medical advice. There's nothing I could do to stop her. She has the right to leave. I wasn't sure she was going to get out the door without falling, but I can't force her to stay and get treatment. And she was going to cross the street from the hospital to the convenience store to buy a beer and start the cycle all over again. And I knew her well. I'd taken care of her many times. All the nurses knew her. And I thought to myself, it's too late for her. But there's probably a lot of other people who could really have used some help years ago to get help for their alcoholism or their smoking or their chronic pain management or so many other things. So I thought, I'm in a place in my life where I can spend any amount of money I need to educate myself. I can go anywhere in the world and I can study with the best hypnotists and I can learn. I'm good at learning. I have a lot of initials and I've collected lots of degrees and certifications along the way. So I knew that I could learn to be a good hypnotist. So I just started. I enrolled in school. I enrolled in certification programs, training programs. I went to the national conferences. And actually, since then, I've become a speaker at national conferences. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I think, a little later. But anyway, well, that's how I became a hypnotist. And I believe in education. I believe in certifications. So as soon as I had enough hours under my belt, I went to another conference and sat for the board certification exam. And that was pretty intense, but I did pass. And so now I feel like I have very good skills. I've been doing hypnosis now for 4 years full time, and I have learned so much from each and every client.
So
and I really love what I do.
Oh, it shows in your response. Now that, yes, it definitely showed. So the B, I think it was BCH, or the
Oh, that's
last one.
board certified hypnotist. Yes.
Okay, that's the one that I did not recognize what that was.
Right. And board certified just means that like a lot of physicians will be board certified in a certain specialty. Like if you go to an emergency department, pretty much all those physicians are going to be board certified in emergency medicine. It just means that they had an oral exam in front of a committee of people that could ask them any question, and there's an extensive written exam, and then there are requirements to get to the point where you can even apply to be to sit for the board certification exam.
Wow, that's impressive. That's because those are initials that I have not seen. Actually.
Well, a lot of people
have. Yeah, so there must be a select, I won't say few because there's so many people in the world, but most hypnotists that I've seen don't have that after their name.
No, I don't remember what the percentage is. I think it's somewhere between 3 and 5%. I'm not positive.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, that's why. Well, congrats then, because yeah, that's a great accomplishment. Wow. So you told us a little bit about this while you were answering that question, but what types of problems can hypnosis help?
That's a great question. Hypnosis is famous for weight loss and smoking. And I think maybe it's famous for that because so many people need help with weight loss and smoking. But it's also good for so many other things. And here's how you can kind of guess whether hypnosis is going to be good for something. Anytime you want to make a change in your life, and it could be maybe you just want to stop thinking obsessively about something unhappy from your past, or maybe you feel like fears about failure or being an imposter are getting in the way of you gaining a skill or advancing in your career. Any kind of phobia about, spiders or elevators or going out in public, all of those things. Anytime you're wanting to make a change in your life and you're not able to do it, just by, knowledge of what to do correctly and sheer willpower, that's an indication that there's something in your subconscious mind that's getting in the way.
Right. Right. So that's almost anything.
I've seen people for all sorts of things. Yeah, I've seen people that just find themselves canceling social occasions because they're worried that they can't learn the skill in the club or the organization that they belong in. People that have just experienced a big shift in their life. Maybe now they are running a larger organization and they're struggling with some aspects of that. People who have just experienced infidelity in their relationship, or they've lost someone that they love. So many times in our life, we just need assistance. And traditional therapy is very good for many problems. Talking through something with a person who is trained to help guide you is really good. But sometimes there are problems where the origin is really below the level of your conscious thinking and below the level of your active memory. And so I assist people into a different state of mind, and it's a normal and natural state of mind. We all go through the same state of mind that I put somebody intentionally in hypnosis, on your way to sleep at night and on your way to wake up in the morning. There's 5 brainwave states that are just common, and a lot of people are knowledgeable about an electrocardiogram or an EKG. You see that on TV, and if you've ever been in the hospital with someone, you know that experience where there's little taped electrodes across their chest and on their arms and legs. And by doing that test, the doctors can see the flow of electricity from one part of the heart to another. And they can use that diagnostically to figure out what's happening in someone's heart. Well, the same thing can happen in your brain. And, more and more people now are getting treated, for example, for sleep apnea. And so as part of that process, they'll have a sleep study. And in a sleep study, part of that's going to be an ECG, an electroencephalogram. And so in that situation, there'll be wires all over their head and on their arms and legs. And during the night, researchers or the people that are working in the sleep lab can see what state of consciousness they're in. So like I said, there's 5 states of consciousness. You and I right now are in the beta brainwave state. This is normal everyday talking. This is where we are when we're learning. And it's very clear to anyone looking at a waveform that this is the beta brainwave state. And then when you're really relaxed, like, really chilled out at night, watching TV or reading or just hanging out with your family, feeling safe and comfortable, you're approaching the alpha brainwave state. Or anytime you're involved in an activity where time seems to pass very quickly, maybe you're doing an art project or you're doing something that you're enjoying where you have focused concentration, you're not really aware of your body or discomfort, you're just thinking about what you're doing and time flies. That's the alpha brainwave state, and that's where I'm going in hypnosis. Alpha to the borderline of theta. Theta is REM sleep. where we get our brains recharged during the night, and dreams are very active then. And if when I help someone down into the alpha brainwave state, I try to get them right down to the edge of theta. Most people don't stay conscious in the theta brainwave state, so it's a little skill experience for me to keep somebody as low in alpha as I can, because when you're getting close to theta, you have access to memories and emotions. And the changes made in hypnosis are all about our emotions. We don't do the work so much with our thinking mind, we do it with our feeling, the feeling part of ourselves, which is housed in our subconscious mind. And then the other two brainwave states are delta, deep dreamless sleep, and then gamma, which is really high level information processing that would happen. I always think of an example of someone in pure gamma, like a saxophone player on stage in a jazz band, improvising, making decisions on the fly, very intense, nothing else in his consciousness, but that high level reacting to the other musicians and something like that. And we all have those experiences in life. You've had those when you're working on something and you have those aha moments or a breakthrough in your ideas about what you're working on.
And now you did mention musician.
Yes.
So
yes.
you're a Celtic
Celtic harp. Yes, some people pronounce it Celtic. I pronounce it Celtic. And that was a gift I gave myself for my 40th birthday. I had always wanted to play the harp from when I was a little girl. And when I was 13, my parents took me to see a very famous Canadian harpist. And I had a front seat row, and she had a big puffy dress and this great big harp, and she started playing. And there was just something that didn't touch my heart. And I remember crying all the way home and not really understanding why. And then years later, right when I was 39, I was in my office. I was director of nursing at a small community hospital. And I heard the most beautiful music I'd ever heard down the hall, just like floating down the hall. And I followed the music, and I saw this man with long silvery hair, and he had a small harp, maybe about 3 feet tall, between his, resting on his calf muscles. The music was so beautiful. And he would just come into the hospital about once a month and play in the hallways, and everyone, it just changed the mood and the feeling. And it was kind of like everyone could take a deep breath and slow down and open their hearts. It felt quite magical, actually. And so I just was brave, and I asked him if he would consider taking a beginner student. And so just before my 40th birthday, I bought my first harp, and I started taking lessons with him. And I studied with him twice a month for 10 years.
Oh.
So that was quite a while ago. I've played over the years at so many events and weddings. I really enjoyed it very much. I actually have a CD called Mermaid, and I have a harp website also, celticharp.info.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Part of my life. I always used to think, from working in the emergency department, 12 hours, very intense. And I was a sexual assault nurse examiner for 10 of those years that I was in the emergency department. So I did a lot of midnight rape exams, and I would come home and I could just calm myself right down with the Celtic harp. Sometimes I would just sort of play myself to sleep until I was too sleepy even to continue playing.
Yeah, that's a pretty intense aspect of health that you did. So you would need something for downtime, or even for managing emotions.
Right.
Because that's pretty difficult. Oh my. But that's interesting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So can anyone, this is a question I'm sure that you get a lot, but can anyone be hypnotized? Is it a specific kind of person, or what?
That is a great question, because it used to be thought that only some people were susceptible. And the true answer is anyone can be hypnotized as long as they are willing and they want to be hypnotized, and they have at least the intelligence to follow instructions exactly. So not everybody wants to be hypnotized. Some people feel uncomfortable with that thought of being, somewhat vulnerable, being really relaxed and having a completely honest conversation with someone. So it is very important that you trust your hypnotist. If you don't trust the person who's hypnotizing you to be gentle and compassionate with you, whatever may come up from your earlier life or for how you feel about your life right now, if you can't trust that person, you're not going to relax enough to be able to go into that alpha state and really work on whatever problem it is that's holding you back in life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's
And
really
when
that trust level is really no different than the importance of a trust level that you would have with a counselor or a therapist of any type.
mm-hmm.
So
when you're hypnotized, can the therapist, I know you might think this is an odd question, but you probably heard it because people say that to me. Can the therapist have you do something that you don't want to do?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. So this brings up people sometimes ask me, are you going to make me do something that I don't want to do because they've maybe seen a stage show? So in a stage show, and I have kind of a love-hate feeling about stage shows. On the one hand, I think they're great because they do demonstrate really the power and the amazing part of our subconscious mind. But I think for some people, they engender fear because they're like, wow, I wouldn't want someone to make me pretend to play air guitar in front of everyone. But I just want to suggest this to you. If you were at a county fair, say, and there was a hypnotist, would you volunteer to be on the stage? Personally, I would not. I don't want to be on a stage getting that kind of attention. But there are a lot of people who would absolutely love to go up and be part of the show. Their friends are going to, now these days, videotape them. It's going to be on Facebook. Everyone's going to laugh. Everyone's going to clap. A lot of people would love to have that kind of attention. And guess what? They're not responsible because the hypnotist made them do it. So, that works in the favor of the person that's doing a stage show. So in hypnosis, I can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. And as a matter of fact, if somebody has something that happened in their life that they absolutely don't want to talk to, they're not going to divulge that in hypnosis. I may, every once in a while, I come up with someone who doesn't want to talk about something deep and disturbing to them from their past. And that's all right. We don't have to talk about the details. We can focus on how that experience made them feel and how perhaps we can shift them to feeling a little bit differently about that so that it doesn't affect them in everyday life. And there's a way to do that.
And then how long would a person have to be, not how long in time would they have to be hypnotized? Maybe the question is how many sessions would they have to
That's
be
a great question.
hypnotized?
Sure,
Yeah.
that's a great question. Okay, so generally, the way I figure that out, what a person needs is I just have on my website, there's just a button that you can click on. It takes you to my calendar and anyone can sign up for a free consultation. And in 30 minutes, I can hear what somebody wants to change about their life. I can ask them any questions I need to kind of pinpoint what they're trying to accomplish in their life. They can ask me questions about hypnosis, just like you're doing right now. And at the end of that time, I generally have a pretty good idea whether or not I'm the person that can help them or not. And if I think I can help them, I will know about how many sessions it's going to take and how much it will cost. For example, smoking for many people is something that we can do a very good and thorough job of in 4 sessions. I don't like to do 1 or 2 because there's always some things down lurking underneath that are contributing to the smoke. Because smoking is basically a behavior where you're distracting yourself from uncomfortable feelings. And maybe these days it might just simply be a habit, But at some point, it was something that you were doing to get a little shot of dopamine, a feel-good chemical, and everybody wants to feel good, right? But if you're using food or alcohol, drugs, or tobacco to feel good because you don't want to feel those uncomfortable feelings, then what's happening is you're setting yourself up in kind of a self-defeating loop, because whatever feelings are uncomfortable are still going to be present in your life if you're just covering them up by distracting yourself with these things like smoking, food, sugar, drugs, or tobacco. I think I lost the thread of the question.
So no, you didn't lose a thread because you just explained that part. But so say for example, and you said
Oh, how long? How long?
yeah, it was how long?
Right,
Because you
right,
said
right.
it
Okay, let me
varies.
get back to that. Okay, so
Yeah.
smoking, I would say, and smoking, it depends on a person's history, and it depends on what else they tell me in that consult. Because I've had some smoking clients that I've said, I think we're going to need 6 sessions. But generally, I'm very thorough. And, one wonderful thing about hypnosis is that almost always when someone comes to me for a problem like that, part of the hypnotherapy process I use a process called 5-path. You can look it up. It's a very rock solid therapy process. But when doing that, it's kind of like an emotional house cleaning. So lots of times hypnosis has a ripple effect in your life. And it's not uncommon for me to hear from someone, oh yeah, I don't smoke anymore. And actually I went back to school and I'm finishing my degree. And someone else is like, wow, I went back to this, this artistic endeavor that I used to do. And I have energy now, because once you figure out how to do something that's been very hard for you and that's very important, like a health habit change, that's going to make a huge difference in your life, there's a part of your subconscious that's like, wow, we can do that. What else can we do? But to get back to your question, how long? Now, this depends. I typically do sessions rarely less than 4 and up to 20 if someone's going to lose a large amount of weight, because I've found with the weight loss, and I'm beginning to get pretty good at helping people who want to lose really a serious amount of weight. But one of the things I've learned is they're going to need a lot of sessions, because some of the things that maybe would be a quick one-time run through with someone who's simply trying to quit smoking, for someone with a serious weight issue, like, for example, a recent client who just signed up with me has 150 pounds to lose. And we will do that, but it's going to take, a long time. I'm going to be working with her for most of a year. And during that time, we're going to have to go through some of those processes more than one time. We're going to do variations on a theme. So it's very, very thorough, because eating is something that we have to do 3 times a day. It's not like smoking where you don't have to smoke, but we do have to eat every day. So eating is helping somebody with hypnosis lose weight. It's a process of eliminating that original using food as a cover up for feelings. And then on top of that, there's just a huge set of habit changes. And then there's also that, how are you going to deal with stresses in your life from here on out without using sugar to get a dopamine rush, or overeating to just distract yourself?
Is 20 sessions about the maximum?
That's the maximum. Well, I can't say that, because I've got a handful of clients that generally, after we have gotten to a point where they have solved the problem they came to me for, they're finding it so helpful for so many other things. And, a big change in your life with hypnosis, it has a spillover effect. There is a ripple effect through your life. And some people find that doing hypnosis on a regular basis is very helpful. So I do have quite a few clients who I see every 2 weeks or once a month, or just whenever they feel like they need it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Kind of like
Interesting.
a therapist, you might just want to see somebody on an ongoing basis. I've
Mhm.
always felt myself, I remember this as a very young woman seeing a therapist, and he was so helpful to me. And I remember telling him, Dennis, if I could just see you once a week for the rest of my life, I know I would have a better life.
So true. Yep,
Yeah.
so true. Wow. And then let's talk a little bit about, we're going to talk about this and then we'll take a short commercial break. But so you wrote 2 books.
I did.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about each one of them? Because it's 2 separate books, I
Okay.
believe.
Yes.
Yeah, 2 different titles.
One of them is about migraine relief, and the other is about stopping smoking. And the interesting thing about migraine pain relief is this is my personal story. When I first started out, when I first enrolled in a hypnosis program, there was the technical college in my town happened to have a hypnosis program, and I'd known about it for 20 years, and it was the same woman teaching it. And I was just delighted to be able to be in her course. And it was a certification program. And then from there, I went on to take formal hypnosis training programs. But at that time, I sought out a hypnotist in my hometown. I thought, I want to know what it's like to be hypnotized. And I could use help with sleep and procrastination. I'd have some 3 novels that I'd done drafts on that I hadn't finished. And so I thought, oh gosh, it'd be helpful to get some help with that. Never occurred to me to ask the hypnotist to help me with my migraine headache pain. And by the time I got to the end of my migraine pain career, if you want to call it that, or my experience, I'd had migraine headaches for 46 years,
Oh,
just like
wow.
debilitating, frequent headaches. I never talked to her about that. I didn't know that hypnosis was good for pain, and it's very good for migraine pain. So anyway, what happened was I became a hypnotist, and part of being a 5-path hypnotist is you have to learn how to do a self-hypnosis practice, which is called 7th path. And you have to teach it, you have to offer it to your clients. And so I was doing that regularly, 20 minutes twice a day. And self-hypnosis is a lot like a meditation practice. There are the same benefits, and there are well-documented benefits to a regular daily meditation practice, including feelings of stress relief, increased happiness, better sleep, just overall health and well-being. And I found after about 6 months of doing 7th path twice a day, I realized I was hardly ever getting a migraine headache. It was life-changing for me. It was the most important health change in my entire life, still to this day. So when I thought of writing a book, I'm like, that's the story I need to write. So the book is called Migraine Relief with Hypnosis and Headache Pain. It's available on Amazon as an audiobook or as an ebook. And I have print copies also. There it is. And then the next year I wrote a book, Quit Smoking for Good with Hypnosis Without Gaining Weight. Because a lot of people are afraid to quit smoking. They're afraid they might eat. And that's a very realistic concern, particularly for someone who, even maybe without realizing it, is reaching for a cigarette to avoid thinking about, being lonely, tired, overwhelmed, unhappy, angry, frustrated, depressed. Reaching for a cigarette to cover up that feeling. And you do get a hit of dopamine and some immediate distraction from that. It's something to do with your hands. And so it's very common for people when they quit smoking on their own to just replace that behavior by reaching for a cookie or having an extra serving of something, having a snack when they wouldn't do that. So I teach people I have sort of a curriculum that I teach people about feelings. And the basic idea of it is that all feelings are good, even the bad ones. They're like indicator lights on a car dashboard. they let you know that something's not right. So when you have an internal feeling that's uncomfortable, it's very important to listen to that and identify it. Because once you identify it, then you can think about, okay, what could I do in my life that could help solve the problem as opposed to just cover it up?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then in your first book, or the migraine book, that's when you were talking about the
Seventh path.
thank
The
you,
self-hypnosis
seven path.
practice. Yeah.
Yes. Is that something that one can learn on their own, or is it something that you need a hypnotist or
Oh,
someone?
that's a great question. The way it was designed, seventh path, and this, I don't know, the numbers are a little bit confusing, but I'll tell you what seventh path means. It's called seventh path because there are 7 different ways you can use the recognitions, and there are a total of 9 recognitions. And the recognitions are just little pearls of wisdom. They are simple statements that they're actually, they could be compared to that golden thread of beliefs of truth that knit through all of the religions of the world and all the basic philosophies of life, those simple truths. And there are 9 of them, and they're given to the new practitioner one at a time in hypnosis. So I generally give them out about once a week in hypnosis. And there's some information that I give people with that. But when you're in the alpha state, you are more open to suggestion, and we're getting below that part of your conscious mind that makes decisions, that kind of evaluates, what do I believe and what do I not believe, what do I accept, what don't I accept. And in hypnosis, we're trying to just duck beneath that. And then it's my job to give you really positive suggestions so you can make change. And that conscious part of your mind that might be arguing like, well, I've never been able to do that. I've always had to have sugar, or I always have to have dessert, or I'm not happy unless I have a double scoop of ice cream. We're just jumping below that a little bit and talking about, what do you really want in your life?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that double ice cream getting you what you want in your life? Or would you rather have a slender body and be able to keep up with your grandchildren, look great in clothes, feel healthy, get off your blood pressure medications? Although I never tell anybody anything about medications, that's their doctor's purview. But
Mm-hmm.
it's my experience that when people lose 40 pounds, they generally are getting medications adjusted by their doctor.
Right. Well, we are going to take just a quick break, and then come right back, and we're going to get some more of these pearls that Kathie is giving us. So we will be right back in a second.
Do you suffer from bladder leaks? If you have ever leaked a little when you call for exercise, help is available. 1 in 3 women experience bladder leaks in her lifetime. For a free consultation, visit our website, thepelviccoach.com.
Welcome back. So that is a little bit about actually my program. I have a program that helps women to reduce and eliminate bladder leaks. And if you think that is you, because a lot of people have bladder leaks and don't think it's them, which is really very interesting. But if you leak a little bit when you're coughing, laughing, exercising, I am the person that you want to see. So I'll give you my contact information, of course, at the end of the show. But we are going to get back to Kathie and talk about a little bit more about what she does, how hypnosis can help you, and just hypnosis in general, and to kind of take away maybe answer some of the questions that you have, and maybe even take away some of the fears or some of the misconceptions that a lot of people have had about hypnosis. So, but the next thing I want to talk about before we run out of time is that you are speaking at a conference. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I am. I'm speaking actually at 2 conferences this year. 2 years ago at the National Guild of Hypnotists annual conference in Maryland, I gave a presentation on brain entrainment using binaural beats to help hypnotists use this just wonderful little brain hack to help their clients. And I've been using binaural beats personally for years. Even before I became a hypnotist, I found out about them through the Centerpoint Institute, who's kind of the gold standard for binaural beat meditation help. They had a series of CDs that you would listen to, and it would help you get your brainwave state from beta brainwave state of everyday consciousness down to alpha and down to the edge of theta. So let me see where to start on this. So early in my hypnosis career, I made a couple of recordings. And the reason I did this was that nearly all of my clients reported some difficulty either going to sleep or staying asleep. And many people had the experience of just being wiped out by the end of the day. And, you know, sometimes we have busy days, but then we have evening commitments. And so I made a 17-minute recording called Relaxation that is designed to be used as a cat nap. And they did studies. I did a lot of research on this. This is endlessly fascinating to me. The whole study of sleep, of neuroscience, of consciousness in general, as well as hypnosis. I just don't seem to be able to devour books fast enough. But I did a ton of research, and I found out that at the Stanford Sleep Lab in Palo Alto, scientists had found that if somebody can get down to the theta brainwave state for just 5 to 10 minutes, then the sodium and potassium ions on the edge of the neurons, that they're the gatekeepers to allow osmosis across the cell membrane. So, you know, chemicals to come in and chemicals to go out of the brain. They found that, for example, with overwork, with the mental fatigue you feel after making decisions all day and being at work, they found that 5 to 10 minutes in the theta brainwave state allows those sodium and potassium ions to reset to their normal ratios. And the result is that you have that sensation of relief of brain fog. You have kind of like a clarity in your mind, sort of feeling well refreshed, like after a deep nap. Now, a lot of people who are able to take naps know this, and there's many people in the world who take a nap every afternoon and they feel refreshed for the evening. But most of us didn't really learn how to do that growing up, and you know, we don't allow ourselves the time to do that. And even if we did lie down, we probably couldn't relax. So I recorded this 17-minute recording there's a vocal track which I wrote, and there's some beautiful music underneath it. And the music is just kind of like, you might call it new age or spa music. It doesn't have any discernible instrumentation, and it doesn't have a discernible melody. As a musician, both of those things are very distracting to me, and I could not relax and go to sleep if I was listening to specific instruments or a melody, because I'd be tracking that and following that. So I found a musician in Australia, Christopher Lloyd Clark, who's got beautiful recordings. And here's the important thing about those recordings. They have binaural beats embedded in them. Now, binaural beats, like I said, have been around for a long time. I think the Centerpoint Institute started selling their CDs maybe in the 60s, but they were discovered in the 1800s by a German physicist who was doing research on people trying to figure out how he could help people with hearing loss. But here's how it worked. Normally, our ears, you know, they're designed to accept sound waves coming through the air at, you know, different vibrations. Sound is just a vibration. And our ears are designed to pick up these vibrations, but they're designed to hear a vibration the same in each ear. For example, the note A, the musical note A, is 440 hertz. And hertz just means how many cycles per second. So the note A cycles 440 times a second. And we perceive that as that note. Now, if you have sound going in your ears that is different, say 440 in one ear, 445 in the other ear, your brain needs to do something with that. And what it does is it creates a wave of 5 hertz, the mathematical difference of those two sounds. And it creates a wave, and that wave causes the other waves that are already in your brain, because we have brain waves going all the time, like I discussed earlier with the EEG. It causes an entrainment. There's something in mammals called the frequency following effect. And when you introduce this waveform through 2 tones of different frequencies going into the right and the left ears simultaneously, it causes this waveform and it entrains the other brain waves down. So what does this mean for you? It means that if you have, if you're listening to binaural beats, for example, on my relaxation CD, or not a CD, it's an MP3 download. If you listen to that, I have binaural beats in that music at the theta brainwave level. So what's going to happen if you lay down, close your eyes, try to relax, try to go to sleep, the music is going to help pull you down from the beta brainwave state through alpha to theta. The goal is to get you down to theta in just 17 minutes, down for 5 to 10 minutes, and then back up. Now, I know this recording really well. I wrote the script, I recorded it, I practiced it for a long time before recording it. I sat in the sound studio with the engineer and cleaned it up. We adjusted all the volume levels, and then I packaged it up and I stuck it on my website. It's a free download for anyone who would like to go and get it. I did this just as a gift to everyone because it's so important for us to relax in the middle of the day. The important thing about binaural beats is whenever you listen to them, you must listen with headphones or earphones. They just don't work otherwise, because otherwise when you're hearing the music, you're hearing it with both ears at the same time. In order to get the binaural beat effect, you have to have stereo headphones or stereo earbuds. And these days, pretty much anything you buy is going to be stereo. It's going to have a right and a left channel. So that's relaxation. And the other recording I made is called Sleep. It's an hour long, and that has binaural beats at the delta level. And there's only been one client of mine who was able to listen to the complete end of that. And she had a pretty serious sleep disorder that she'd been struggling with her whole life. And so most people can't get through the whole recording. And that's the idea. It's designed to help you go to sleep. It's something that you can listen to in the middle of the night. You could listen to it as many times as you want. And, you know, someone who needs to listen frequently, the first part of that recording is going to become very familiar. And you can just think of it as like your favorite song or a favorite bedtime story and just kind of float along with that. And it will take you right to sleep.
And they can get, I put information on the bottom of the screen.
Right,
So,
I see that. So if they want to get to my website, the info at is the part of it that will get you an email to me. But if you just want to go to sailorchypnosis.com, then you can, oh, there you go. Then you'll see my homepage. It's kind of a turquoise color. It's the same color as my book. I love this color. My dress, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have it on today too.
Yeah, I have a turquoise all around me. This color, on the front page at the very bottom, there's a button that just says free download. So just help yourself. You have to put your email address in. Don't worry about that. I do not send out a newsletter or any kind of advertising.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Oh, wow, that is really nice. So, what? And this may or may not be the last question. We'll see. But can you give the audience maybe just a few takeaways on what hypnosis can do for them? But before you do that, I do have another question. How long did it take for you to become a certified hypnotist?
Oh, well, I spent a little more than a year and a half in formal training. There's a wide there's a wide range of education that an individual hypnotist has. I believe in education. I'm all about education, degrees, certification, studying. So I kind of took the long road, and I did a thorough and deep, I gave myself a thorough and deep educational background. Not everyone has that. So it's a good question to ask. So for me, the whole process was a little more than a year and a half.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Interesting. And that's going to actual class or?
Yes, I went through a certification program at the community college, and then I went through a intensive 2-week program that taught me the format of the 5-path therapy process. And there are hypnotists out there who have only ever had a 2-week training program, which is a little bit worrisome. I feel like the fact that I've been a registered nurse and have gone through a lot of experiences in my lifetime, I'm 63 years old, I feel like those experiences have informed my practice and make me well equipped to help people with whatever they come to me for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
you
then
have the second to last question was an interesting one.
So I'll get back to, because you have so much information. I have so many questions, actually. That's why I have a question in my mind, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, let me just ask this before I forget. But this question is, could you give maybe a few takeaways for the audience to remember about hypnosis? It could be just, simple or complex, whatever, but just to kind of wrap up
Right.
what our conversation was.
Okay. You know how you have that nasty voice in your head? Almost everybody has this voice in their head that is telling them like, oh, you're not any good at that. You can hear your friends say it. You can hear people arguing for their own limitations. And by that, I mean, someone says, oh, I'm never good at math. I'm not good at computers. I'm not good at technology. I'm not good at fixing things. I can't do that. I was never able to do that. You know, you can live your life that way if you want, but you don't have to. And you particularly don't need to listen to a voice telling you you're fat, you're ugly, you're not capable, you'll never be able to do this, you'll never be able to do that. You don't have to listen to that either. And you don't have to live your entire life with habits and behaviors that are getting in the way of your happiness. There's really no need to do that at all. So anytime there's something in your life that you would like to be different, maybe you'd like to eat healthier, maybe you'd like to exercise, maybe you'd like to enjoy being with other people without feeling anxious, maybe you'd like to be more assertive in your personal relationships or in your career, maybe you'd like to be able to just relax and enjoy the moment and really, enjoy every second of time with your children or your elderly parents, whatever you'd like to do. If you're not doing it right now, give me a call. I can help you with that.
Yeah. And that is so true. And her information is right here. You can put info at in front of that and go right to her website. And
yes, info at will take you right into my Gmail inbox.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Gmail inbox.
Yeah, that's my email address.
Okay. Right. Okay.
That's all right. Either way, because if you go to my website, there's a contact page with my email address and my phone number.
Oh.
Yeah, you can text me.
Well, look, so you can get in contact with Kathie.
I can. And here's the other cool thing. Because of COVID, something really amazing happened. I had a beautiful office in downtown Bellingham, Washington, just an hour and a half north of Seattle. And so my practice was pretty limited to people who could come see me in person. But because of COVID, I had to transition to Zoom. And here's what I've learned. When I learned hypnosis, I learned techniques of touching someone on their arm, shoulder, head, and forehead. But I don't need to touch you to hypnotize you. Mm-hmm. Hypnosis is something that's happening in your head, in between your ears. And most of my clients, all of my clients are on Zoom. And I've taught a lot of them how to use Zoom. Zoom is easy. If you can open an email on your computer or your phone, you can do Zoom. That's all it takes. And most people feel even more comfortable, especially when they are perhaps talking about something that feels very private or very personal, in the privacy and safety of their own home. Many people just lay on their beds or on couches or back in a comfortable reclining chair, and we do hypnosis that way. It's completely effective. I recently had a client lose 84 pounds.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
There's an interview on my website. There's an interview with her. She's so delighted. You can just see the joy radiating off her face. And she'll be the first person to tell you the weight loss was not the main thing she got. She came to me saying, I want to lose 40 pounds. And she blew past 40 pounds. We worked together for, most of a year. And she, over that time, lost 84 pounds. But she'll be the first person to say, what really changed is I feel happy with myself.
Wow.
I like who I am now.
Wow. That's a great testimonial. And I can attest to the fact that it works over Zoom because Kathie has hypnotized me. So yeah, I was hypnotized and it did help me. It actually did. So yeah, I can attest to that. But we're going to wrap up. I'm looking at the time. The time went by so fast. We're gonna have to wrap up. So
Thank you so much.
Oh, you are quite welcome. Thank you, Kathie, for coming. And you have her contact information, all of her information. And then just remember, if you are a person who has any type of issues with your bladder, I am the person to contact. If you want a free copy of my book, I did write a book about this to give you some background information and to help you. If you would like to work on this on your own, you can go and get a copy of my book, To Pee or Not to Pee, at topeeornotto.com. So thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.